There we go, Matt. We are live on Tuesday afternoon.
Yeah.
The craziest week in the property market history for some time, I would say, because it's a little bit bananas out there on the stamp duty. But you're launching your new business, obviously been in the game for a while. Give us a little bit of an insight into who Matthew Pulford is. Let's talk about you for a bit.
So I'm Matthew, Mr. Wokingham, as my partners in Avocado like to call me. I've been in the industry for about 16 years, probably a little bit longer than that now. I've worked for two separate businesses. Recently, a shareholding director for a larger independent across Surrey, chose to take the move across to come and join you and the team at Avocado, which is exciting already. I'm really enjoying it.
I think what's good for me and you to talk about is we've both been at director level. We've both sat on the board in independent estate agents. And when you get to that level, it's very much, you know what's going on, but you don't always know how to do it. And then what I've found doing this, running my own business like you are, is there's a few areas that you have to relearn. And because I think the model is so different, you have to get the creativity going. You have to just almost reteach on quite a few areas. How have you found that in the first couple of weeks? Has it been exciting to learn new things?
That's been very different. I mean, in truth, I was still very much hands-on front end when I was working in the previous company. So outvaluing, taking people out to go and have a look at properties, but then the management of it across the group was a big part of it. I guess the difficulties now are probably the marketing element of it, because we've always had teams of people around us. So I know I spent enough time with you going, how do we do a Facebook ad and what do we do here, and Facebook Business Manager and linking Instagrams and everything else. But I spent a bit of time playing around with it in truth, and it's starting to become more user friendly, I would say, for me, and trying just to work out how it works properly so that you can get the right bit of content, if you like, out to the right people, so that you get the right response from it. It's been interesting. It's been really interesting. I've enjoyed it a lot.
So talk to me about your connection to Wokingham. That's what I'm interested to know. So have you always lived in Wokingham? Did you grow up in Wokingham? Did you start your estate agency career in Wokingham? Where's the links?
So I've lived in Wokingham all my life, so 35 years, so it's soon to be 36. I lived originally with my mum and dad over in opposite where the Guide Dogs for the Blind used to be, so over that patch. Bought a house in Finchampstead when I was 22, a few years ago now, and then bought another one after selling that one in Woos Hill at the top of the Spine Road. I think I started in agency in Wokingham, actually. I think that was my base office when I went to go and work for one of our competitors now, so I won't mention their names. I worked for Wokingham as a junior negotiator when I must have been 19. I've just seen Andy Mead's comment. Thanks, Andy. Started there when I was 19.
What is that? Let's just pause there, Matt. What is that all about? Is that something that we need to discuss?
I actually don't know. Is it true, Matthew? Blue Pizza? No, not me. Definitely a different Matthew Pulford. But thanks for taking me off track on that. But no, I worked in Wokingham for most of my estate agency career within the first business that I worked for, and then sort of moved further afield as the job roles progressed and everything else. But Mum works at Specsavers in town. I've enjoyed spending time in the coffee shops and bits and pieces in Wokingham. And do you know what? Wokingham has improved massively over the years. I remember driving through there going, it really needs some sort of refurbishment is probably the best way to do it. Some new infrastructure, some new just exciting things to go on in town, and I think over the past probably 5 years or so, that's really started to take its move ahead. And there's lots that's going on now. And in actual fact, Wokingham as an area is what a place to live. Schools are great, commuter links are great, everything's just fantastic, and what a town to represent.
I think as well, it's a very social town. It's there's a lot of cool, boutique kind of restaurants now, coffee shops, wine bars. it's a very social town. It has been for many years, but I think the level of quality of amenities has definitely improved, even in light of everything that we've gone through in the last year. But it seems like a very social town. Prices have always seemed strong there as well. What type of things have you got buyers looking for at the moment? I know you're working with some buyers that are super passionate to find. What are they after?
So I've actually got quite a few, actually, and this is where the social media element of it has been really good, because I've had literally calls from people going, I've seen you on Facebook, I wanted to get in contact, and can you try and help me find somewhere? So I've got a family of 4 that are in rented at the moment in Wokingham, looking for a 4 bedrooms attached with garage, driveway, parking, nice garden. They've got a budget between 750 and 800,000. They're really struggling to find somewhere. So if anybody on here knows of anyone, then that'd be great. I've got a new buy-to-let investor that is just moved to the area. Been fortunate enough to have some capital behind her. So she wants to buy a 2-bedroom house in the town centre. And registered a lady yesterday that is looking for a 2-bedroom house and in Wokingham, just to find as their first home. So there are lots of people, and that's only a small selection of them, in truth. And I suppose I've probably got 2 or 3 people that want 2 bedrooms in town centre houses opposed to flats. But yeah, the housing market for the bigger sort of 3 and 4 bedrooms, we could just do loads more of them, in truth. The inquiries are regular through to my email, and in truth, I just don't have. Thanks, Russell. I just don't have the stock coming onto the market at the moment. There's a few nice, really lovely bits that are coming on, but nothing that's really that ready yet to go after.
You mentioned Russell's comments. People can't see those comments unless I throw them in there, just so that you know.
Fine. I was going to read them out.
I'll put Russell's in there because it's a fair comment. I think is why are the avocado team so handsome, and is there something in the avocado? Well, the answer to that is obviously it's a superfood, and there's good fats in there. So that's probably answers your question, Russell. Back on property,
more about you than he was about me. So yeah, that's fine.
I'm not sure. So back on property. What do you think is going to happen with the market over the second half of the year? We're about 8 days from the stamp duty holiday, the big part of it for this area, the 500k mark, coming to an end. Completions have been crazy. I feel like today all I've done is run out and drop bottles of champagne, keys and sweets off to people, which is the best part of the job. But what comes next? You've been in the game for a long time. You've seen the last kind of, let's say, the big climb and dip that happened previously. What would be your gut feeling on what the market does in the second half of this year?
So gut feel is there's still a lot of buyer confidence out there. There's still a lot of people looking for the right properties for them. There isn't an awful lot that's coming onto the market which is ticking the boxes, which is staying on for long enough for people to actually get after it and go for it. The buyers that I'm talking to at the moment are only people that are registered within the past week, so they've known that they're never going to be able to get anything through by the end of June, obviously, because it was never practically possible unless they'd done it 2 months ago. So there's still buyer confidence out there to try and do it. And all they're saying to me is that there isn't enough property out there. I'm getting beaten to the punch of a number of different bits and pieces at the moment, and I'm always seem to be one step behind the person that's in front of me. And if I was to look at that as its own sort of synopsis, if you like, I'd probably go, the market can only be moving in one direction. Whether prices will stable out or whatever, who knows? That will come out in a wash over the next 2 or 3, 4 months. But I think the buyer confidence out there with people still looking to buy should mean that the property market still progresses at a good level and the market still continue to improve. I think if we could guess, me and you would be very rich people as to what's going to happen with the housing market. But I think the general rule of thumb and what I look at is the buyer confidence that's out there. If the buyer confidence is strong, then I think the market will continue to be that.
Yeah, I think the logic behind it is simple economics, like you said, that if there's less properties on the market, and inevitably what we've seen with stamp duty is people that are planning to move in the next 36 months have sped that process up to make the saving of up to 15k. So there will be less properties coming to the market over the next few years or months at least. And the affordability with the mortgages are incredibly cheap at the moment, which means people can maybe move where they couldn't move before on affordability on a month-by-month basis, which is exciting for the market. I want to just get back on you a little bit Couple of quick questions then. What's one thing that you haven't ticked off your bucket list yet?
Oh wow. Okay, so there was something I really wanted to try and do, because I'd had like half marathon, or first of all it was 5Ks, 10Ks, half marathons. I've done all those. I ran London a couple of years ago, and I did say a long time ago that I wanted to try and get into triathlons and to do an Ironman at some point. So that seems like a big step up. But I watched an ex-PT of mine do one a long time ago, and always had a little bit of the bug to do it. But I'm not sure I quite fancy doing the swim, the run, and then running a marathon at the end. I think that might kill me a little bit. But bucket list wise, totally something like that, something that probably pushes me to the nth degree to get me to be physically as better person as I possibly can be. Bucket list wise, I suppose all my bucket lists have always been challenges for me, and they've always been things that I felt that I needed to try and challenge myself on, rather than go and have a holiday here or go and do that there or go and experience this or meet that person or whatever. I think it's always been something that's going to be able to challenge me to make me a better person. So I've always sort of tried to push, a bit like you, in truth, where you try to push yourself to try and do things that are maybe massively take you outside of your comfort zone. And that is what I would consider a bucket list tick for me. And it would definitely be something like that.
I think it's awesome. I think it's a great attitude to have. And I think so many people in life in general sit in that comfort zone, in that hamster wheel. You know, we drive to work in a box, we sit in a box, we do the same things, we call on a box, when it's actually amazing to just go and do something different. So if there's PTs watching or Ironmen watching, DM Matt with some tips, get him out there, get him out and about. That'd be exciting to see. What's the craziest thing you've ever done, Matt?
Oh my God.
That you can say live on social media on your business
I'm
page?
quite a cautious person, Ian, so there's not much I couldn't say on social media. So you're right. Craziest thing. Wow. Well, running a marathon was the craziest thing probably I can think back to in recent times. That was all in.
That was London. You did London,
That was London. Yeah. That was all in order to raise money for charity. And I did say about 18 miles through it, I'm never ever doing that again. And then literally the next time that it came up, I reapplied for it. So that was just stupid. That was probably the craziest thing, reapplying for the marathon the year after I felt the pain that it caused me the time that I ran it before. But yeah, probably craziness. I might have to come back to you on that one, because I'd love to say I live quite a normal life. Sorry, go on.
Post it in the comments later on, because obviously the live will stay there for 24 hours.
Okay.
We've got a question, a serious question from Ellen here, actually. What's the best piece of advice you would give to a first-time buyer at the moment?
I think the key part, and I've spoken to lots and lots of first-time buyers recently, they tend to go out, and this is very general, but they tend to go out and go, I'm going to go and view properties, I'm going to go view properties, I'm going to go and view properties. And that's great. But I think the key part for any first-time buyer is really making sure they've got their finances in order. So ensuring that they've got a decent broker in place that can ensure that they can get a certain amount of money, looking at what Help to Buy options are out there, having a look at the ability to raise the mortgage is probably the key part to it. I think if any first-time buyer is thinking about going out, having a look at houses, exciting, give us a call. We'd love to help you. But I think the honest part of it is make sure you know what you can afford first. Make sure that you know that you can generate the mortgage, so that you know tangibly what you're looking at that you can afford. If you can achieve that and you can go out and do that, and you can come to any one of the Avocado partners and go, okay, I've spoken to a broker, I can get a mortgage with ABC, whatever, and I can afford up to £300,000 with my deposit. We then know what we're working with you, and we can go out and find it for you. Often the case is get out to go and have a look at a load of properties, go out and offer on something at 300,000, try and organise your mortgage, realise you can't get it in for more than 250. And the heartache that causes a first-time buyer when buying your first home is probably the most exciting time that you've got, is I can't get what I wanted. Mm-hmm. And I actually think that first-time buyers really need to be educated by people like us, to be able to go out there and get the right advice, seek the right help from a mortgage specialist, and then we know how we can help you.
It's a fair point, and I think it's something which having the right information helps you make the better decisions, and it saves a lot of time. And you know, that's exactly what you're saying there, is do your budget planner, talk to a mortgage advisor. You know, all the partners work with their own power team of solicitors and mortgage advisors. So, you know, if you're looking to buy in Wokingham, have a chat with Matt. He can recommend good mortgage broker, get a solicitor quote, make sure you check what debts you've got, credit cards, store cards, loans, car finance, all these things stack up to the eventual borrowing, and do it right from the beginning, basically.
Absolutely right.
Yeah, great advice.
You never know, if you need to borrow a little bit of money, you can always have a chat with mum and dad, and they might be able to lend you a little bit. But I think that's the key part for anything. There's nothing worse than going out there with every good intention and wanting to go and buy somewhere, getting to the process of offering on somewhere and realizing you can't do it. Get the finances in order first, ensure that you can achieve what you need to achieve by doing that, and then go out, and then we'll go and find you somewhere.
Love that. So for people that are looking to potentially sell in Wokingham, we mentioned obviously that, you know, born and bred, grew up there, owned properties there, different parts of Wokingham as well. So you know the schools, you know the bus routes, where the train links go, the quality of information, the different micro streets in Wokingham that stand for different things, the different communities. That information you've obviously got in abundance, which is great. If someone was to instruct you, like people are doing at the moment, to sell their home, the marketing at Avocado, a lot of people know about, but in terms of the personal from start to finish process, what is that client going to get from you start to finish?
Yeah, do you know what? It's something that I've really bought into ever since watching you start off Avocado, in truth. What they get from me is, okay, best way to say it, I play a bit of golf, yeah, and whenever anybody says to me, what's different about Avocado, I said, you get me. And I said, that's not meant in an arrogant statement. You get me, yeah, you get me from start to finish. You get me to come around and value your property with the experience I've got, with the software that we've got available to us. It gives us everything that we need to be able to accurately go, your house is going to sit somewhere around this sort of value, yeah, and then we'll pitch it out there. We'll do what we can do. It'll be me that does all your videos, your photos. I'll be then doing all the viewings, then hopefully be agreeing a sale, then through to completion, exchange, and completion. I often talk to friends and family about this model entirely. And when I used to work for your corporates and your independents and bits and pieces, it used to be me that goes to out and value the property, and then it used to be not handed over, but it used to be looked after by negotiators, all very well skilled salespeople, but the consistency of the process diminished over time. And I think what I'm hearing from a lot of the people I'm going out to go and see at the moment is they love the idea of it being one person, me from start to finish. I'm not saying I'm the best person, but I'm certainly I've got some good experience in Wokingham, and I'll try my hardest for anyone that gives me their property to sell. But you can never go wrong with consistency. You put a plan in place, you achieve the plan, you go after it, you deliver on it. Everything will work its way out in the end. And I think the key driver is having the passion to make sure that the customer always knows what happens next. And if you're going to be the person that delivers that, you're going to be the person that delivers it. And
it's where the Americans, the Australians get it so right, you know, with the individual consistent level of communication. Estate agencies had communication as its number one complaint for double decades now. And I think what's interesting for me in the process, you know, if you look at the timeline of process, the two areas where it can go very, very wrong for the owner and the buyer is on the viewing, because that's where the buyer's gathering the most information. It can go very wrong if that information is incorrect. And that's one of the most unskilled and less experienced sections within that journey that the estate agents normally offer, which is different because they're going to get you. And then in the after sales process, when it gets to the legal transactions, the inquiries, the contracts, the mortgage offers, all the nitty gritty part, often that gets passed to more of an administration role in a lot of cases, but they get you, someone who's bought and sold properties in the area. They're the two areas where it can go very wrong, and the two areas where actually in the traditional model, the departments are probably the most unskilled or under-experienced, which obviously is not going to be the case with you, which is great.
Yeah, totally right. And I think there's always a pressure within many other businesses to sell, to hit targets. And I think when you have that philosophy, and don't get me wrong, it's not the wrong philosophy to have. Everybody needs to be hungry to get their bit of the pie, if you like. But when you've got, we're all there, but when you've got other people that aren't you or I that have followed that process all the way through, they're not going to be consistently aware of everything that they've been told at the point of appraisal. They're going to not necessarily make it up, that's wrong, but they're not going to be as diligent with the information to pass it on in the best way. And I think that where you do get that wrong, and I mean, we were both board director level, wherever we were before. When you look at that, the complaints you always get tend to be, well, I was told that at the point of the viewing. I was told that there was going to be a washing machine, or I was told there was that shed at the back of the garden had this or whatever. And that won't happen with our model because it's only us that are doing it.
Yeah, absolutely. You spend an hour and a half on the valuation talking directly to the owner. You know the information about the property. You then do the viewing. That information that you've gathered on the valuation is transferred into the viewing. Whereas in the traditional model, maybe the first time that estate agent's ever set foot in the property is the same time that the buyer is setting foot behind them.
Yes, exactly.
It can't have the same consistency of communication in that way that you can, which is great. How have you enjoyed the videos? Getting in front of the camera. I've obviously got the green screen. Oh, yeah, there we go. Green screen behind me. But getting on and presenting the videos, because I saw your Plough Lane one, which is a lovely house that you've got on at 750. Motivated seller there, really lovely property. But from your point of view, have you enjoyed getting in front of the camera and actually doing the walkthrough and making it an experience?
Yeah, it's been a bit nerve-wracking. I never needed to do it before. I think it's something I've never needed to do. So it's sort of I can sit here and talk to you, Ian, and we can have a conversation in the office. We can talk about everything that I want to talk about on a video. You put that camera in front of me, and then suddenly I become tongue-tied. And I mean, it's just the way it works. But it will become more normal as I do more of them. And I think it's been a bit of baptism in fire, but it's all been well received, and friends, family, and all the supporters around there have been very supportive of how I come across. So that's been good.
Yeah, I mean, I've been going on camera now for 18 months, and you still get a little bit sweaty, you still get a little bit tongue-tied. There's certain words that you just get stuck with. I saw I saw Will and Mike, partners working in Crowthorne and Sandhurst and Finch, and they had some bloopers on their reel today, which are great. So it happens, and that's the human part of the process.
Exactly that.
Sophie's asked us a detailed question here. Do you think there's now a slump in the market due to the stamp duty holiday coming to an end, and will prices come down? I know we touched on it at the beginning of the video and what comes next, but to answer that directly, what would be the logic if we were looking at saying there is going to be a slump? Because what would the because be? And that's where I rack my brains at the moment to think what that might be.
Yeah, I think the only thing would be that if there's a trend of what we spoke about earlier in the conversation was about there being not enough houses out there for the buyers that are ready to buy. Yeah, because there are lots of buyers that are out there ready to buy at the moment. There's lots of buyers that are in very, very strong positions that would be considered fantastic buyers. Yeah, they are the buyers that have been beaten to the punch at the moment. They're the buyers that have been beaten to the punch, even though they know they're not necessarily going to benefit from the stamp duty holiday. So there's still a lot of buyer confidence out there. Now, the only way in which, and we'll know this from experience, the only reason that there will be a slump in prices is if there is suddenly an influx of new properties coming to the market and a detraction of how many new buyers there are. Yeah, so there'll be more choice for buyers. So they'll be out there picking and choosing what they need to, and they'll be going, well, that one's on the market at 450, but that I can get this for 430, or actually that one's around the corner at 400 or whatever. And then you'll have to see a natural scaling down of the value of the property that's being sold because there's more competition. Whilst there's not enough competition on the market at the moment, and there's a significant amount of good quality buyers, I can only see it going not from strength to strength. I don't think we're going to see a surge in property price. I think if I'm being brutally honest, I can see a stabilization on where we are now. But I think if you suddenly see a massive surge of properties onto the market, it help buyers certainly. But I do think that will be where the slump comes, because you'll have to make your property seem more attractive to the rest.
But it's a fair point on what you define as a slump, because if we're talking prices, I think we're all in agreement that simple economics mean it's cheaper to buy a property at the moment from an affordability point of view because interest rates are low, so prices go up as less come on. If we're talking about transactional volume, there will be an outrageous amount of transactions in June. And if the media like to sell negative press like they sometimes do, when the land registry data comes through in 3 months' time, they might say, or in 4 months' time, they might say that August, September has seen half the amount of transactions compared to June, and therefore there's a slump that way. They might articulate it that way to sell the press. But in reality, it's peanuts to rent a property. I actually was doing a buy-to-let case study on a property in Wokingham that was on for 400 grand for an investment buyer to buy it with a 25% deposit. So 300k loan, 100k deposit. We looked at the interest rate that they could get. It was 1.54. And on an interest-only mortgage, it worked out as about 350 quid, 345 pounds a month, and the rental was 1,800. Now, when there's no money in savings, and you look at that as an investment opportunity for people out there looking as well, you would say that the market is going to be fueled by buyers for a variety of different reasons. I would think, and hopefully there, Sophie, she said thank you. Hopefully that gives you the confidence to do what you need to do. But yeah, and it answers your question. So we've covered quite a lot there, and now I always like on these partner chats to just fire some quick fires at you.
Yeah, go for it.
Are you ready?
Yeah. I didn't know that was happening, so go on.
No, I always like to catch people on this. So these are just A or B. So football or golf?
B, golf.
Golf. Anthony Joshua or Tyson Fury, who wins?
Oh, Tyson Fury.
Okay, just divided the world in half there. Night out or night in?
Night in.
We're getting old, aren't we? I'm with
yeah, I had to think about that one for a second just to see how that was going to be perceived. But yeah, night in probably more than night out.
10 years ago, different combo.
Very different. Yeah.
Skiing holiday or beach holiday? What's your go-to?
Beach holiday. Beach.
Yeah, I'm with you right there. And the final question, which is topical for this evening, is it coming home?
No. I absolutely love to think that it is, but I'm pretty confident it won't be. I mean, most of the country would have watched the performance on Friday, but I hope so. You've got to be optimistic, but it depends how tonight goes. In truth, if we play a little bit better and we can put a decent string of passes together and we can actually do something in the final third, then great. But do I feel confident? No, not at the moment.
I think there's a good chance we're going to see grown men, as usual, walking out of the ship crying after we've been knocked out on penalties. But
exactly right.
We've all been there. We know the story. We know how it unfolds.
Exactly that.
Matt, it's been a pleasure having the chat with you. I know we're on your page or on my page. If people want to get in contact with you, obviously you can put in the comments your mobile number, but Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, WhatsApp, email, all channels you're open to communicating however the client is, I guess.
Exactly right. Yeah. Most people are getting in contact with me on WhatsApp at the moment. So phone number's on my bio on the website, so it's there. So just drop me a note, email, whatever. I'm on it all the time. So just give me a shout. I'd love to help.
Lovely stuff. I'll speak to you soon.
Yeah, appreciate that, Ian. Thanks very much. Have a good day. Cheers.